Good evening. Welcome to Legal Tech Live, episode 120. I'm here with my guest, and I'm your host, Nick Rishwain. I should say that. I'm here with our guest tonight, Drew Amoroso. He's the founder of DueCourse. Drew started his career as a senior associate at Reed Smith and the immediate past president of Barristers Club at the Bar Association of San Francisco. He's a visiting lecturer at UC Davis School of Law, that's in my backyard, and the University of San Francisco and Golden Gate University, where he teaches practice-ready seminar designed to prepare law students to make the transition from students to practice-ready lawyers. And you founded DueCourse, you say here, to address a big problem that you saw in the legal community, a lack of effective modern development resources for lawyers. Drew, welcome to the show. Tell me what the bio doesn't tell me. So did you practice for some time and you decided there's a better way to do this, or there's something more I'd want to be doing? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, first, thanks for having me, Nick. Really appreciate the chance to join you and your audience. Yeah, so I'll just start from the beginning, I suppose. I'm based currently in Costa Mesa in Orange County, but I did start my career in San Francisco as a senior associate at Reed Smith. And I was an attorney there doing class action defense work, primarily for about 6 years. Loved Reed Smith. It was really a fantastic place for me to start my career. Amazing attorneys that I worked with there. Eventually, though, I left and I started my own firm, which I called Move Legal. And at Move Legal, we represented fitness and health and wellness companies. So essentially, we practice startup law for emerging fitness brands. When I opened it up, I started to tell people that I was practicing fitness law. Fitness law is not a real thing. It's something that I made up. It was a way for me sort of to niche down into representing health and wellness companies that I really liked. And I had a lot of fun with that.
So is your own form of branding without calling it branding, essentially?
Exactly. I was trying to reach a very specific type of client. And it was something new and fresh and different. I mean, I could have said I practice startup law, but I told people I practice fitness law, which is a lot more fun. And then people would say, oh, well, what's fitness law? And so it would always lead to some kind of a conversation.
I like it.
Yeah, it was fun. So I ran my firm for a couple of years, though, but then I realized that sort of as I look back, the most rewarding times for me over the years were the times when I was training and coaching my colleagues and other professionals and law students in my network on how to essentially improve and optimize their workday. That's where it started for me. So a couple of years ago, I started my current company called DueCourse. DueCourse was initially a coaching company. We put on courses and we did small and large group coaching for lawyers. Eventually, I had another realization, though, that coaching really has the potential to have a massive impact on a lot of the big issues that we see in the legal industry today, like people issues, things like DEI, wellness, retention, productivity, serving clients better, preventing burnout, addressing the whole person, and all of the things that come along with that. So there's all sorts of issues that coaching has the ability to significantly impact. Mm-hmm. So after really observing that through our own work and watching coaching explode in the global marketplace, I decided to convert DueCourse into a tech startup and add a technology component to it. And now we have a platform that helps large organizations, starting with law firms, manage and outsource their professional coaching engagements. So an organization basically signs up for a subscription, which gives them a certain access for a certain group of professionals inside of the firm. They can access a marketplace where they can select approved coaches who can help them with everything from I want to be a better public speaker to I want some help with wellness coaching to I have 300 emails in my inbox. I'm not sure how to deal with that to I want to build a book of business to something as small as like I want some help beefing up my LinkedIn profile. So we're doing that now. Absolutely love what I get to do each day. It's really just a privilege to get to build something new and different that has the potential to help a lot of people. And this is a legal tech product and a solution that's really focused on human improvement, right? Yeah. It's about personal and professional growth, it's about recognizing that at the heart of organizations and cultures are people, right? And so our aim is really to address some of the big people issues that we're seeing in the industry and address them through technology.
Excellent. So it sounds like you started off as in-person, on-prem kind of training. Is that right?
Yeah. So we did all sorts of things. I would do small group coaching, one-to-one coaching. Really was starting off at the granular level. Just I think at this point I put in about 1,000 hours of coaching with almost exclusively lawyers. So that really, as I said before, really gave me some insight into the power that coaching can have. I think there's a misconception out there that coaching is remedial, right? So it's like you get a coach if you need, if you did something wrong or you need some help. A lot of people think there's a misunderstanding. There's a lot of education that has to go into it. Really, though, what's happening is if you think about it in other contexts, right? You bring in a coach because you want to level up, right? You want to access your entire potential. There's a lot of issues and things that from a personal growth standpoint that people bring to the workplace, that if we can work through some of those things, they can show up as the best professional version of themselves. So I just saw a lot.
We see this a lot with executives at startups. They oftentimes get the executive coach when it's time to level up, but we don't always see that handed down. Maybe in bigger organizations, we don't see it in all organizations where that's handed down to other professionals.
Yeah, it's very much democratizing coaching in that way, right? And if you think about, again, a people-focused, people-centered approach to how to how organizations run and to how culture is established inside of organizations, it begins with how people are thinking about themselves, how they're performing, right? How they're relating to other people. And a lot of those things you can do them in large group settings and you can have people do self-study, but it's really impactful when you have one-to-one and small group interactions to address a lot of those issues.
All right. So tell us about the app. How's it work? I'm a law firm. I'm Reed Smith or
Sure.
Rishwain Law, and I've got 200 or 300 attorneys, and I'm trying to offer this system to them for professional development. How's it work?
Sure. So a firm would purchase a subscription, which would include the ability for them to choose lawyers or for lawyers to select themselves to participate in coaching. So lawyer goes onto the platform, basically creates answers some questions and talks a little bit about what it is that they're looking for. We take that and we source our list of our growing list of coaches, and we say, okay, based on the things that you've said that you need, here are the three best coaches out there that we think would be a good match for you. And so we facilitate that introduction. At the administrative level, we're essentially making it super simple for the professional development teams or the head of wellness committees to essentially track and monitor the coaching relationships that are happening, right? So they are able to see data and analytics around the engagement itself, and able to track who's being coached by who and when and on what. We also have part of our platform also is almost like an angel list for firms. So like, let's say you're an administrator at a big firm and you want to have someone come in and talk about cross-cultural communication for your business lawyers or something like that. You would essentially be able to go in and using keywords, search for an individual who specializes in that, and you'd be able to see their profile and then engage with them directly to have them come and work with your attorneys. As it is right now, there's no real central place where people can look for subject matter experts or coaches or other people specific to the legal industry. So we are vertically specialized, meaning that the only people who are on this platform, subject matter experts, are people who work with law firms and lawyers. So we're keeping it very tight to start.
That's good. All right. So here's my next question for you. So it's a software as a service for law firms and lawyers. How do you source coaches for these folks?
Yeah. There's so we have we're coming out of, we're doing a soft launch beginning of August. And so in the lead up to this, we have just had so many inquiries, actually inbound inquiries from coaches. There's like a pent up desire for a lot of these coaches who are doing fantastic work across the industry to really be seen and be much more visible. Coaching is starting, as I said before, to become much more well accepted. Firms are starting to hire coaches internally on staff to coach their people, but they just don't, they need to start outsourcing because there's not enough coaches in-house. So we've had a lot of inbound inquiries, and we also are asking coaches to join the platform. And we have a process that we go through to essentially choose and select them. Some very basic criteria, but we only want to put forward the best coaches that are out there. So we have a process that we run them through.
That seems great, because so my experience with coaches is the standard social media person who's got life coach or something next to their name on social media, on their Instagram or on their Twitter. And I'm like, but what's the background? So how do you vet that? You have some vetting process for that, so that I'm not just getting the person who maybe has no experience in coaching people. How do we do that?
Sure. So we have a really simple process that we run them through, that we use to vet the professional development teams and the lawyers. You can imagine like a profile, right? That has experience levels, like who I've worked with, what I specialize in, my background. So there's visibility, there's complete visibility into what it is that the experience that the coach has.
Okay.
So they can make an informed decision when they're choosing who they want to work with.
Okay, excellent. And can you tell us about, you've been in operation now for several years, right?
Yes.
So what is the soft launch? I may have missed that. Is the soft launch on the more coaching side of things?
Yes, exactly. Okay. So right. So for a few years, I skipped over that part, Nick. So we were a professional services coaching platform for a while.
Right.
Really simple, would host courses and things like that. We also have an app that is being used at several AmLaw 50 firms right now. That's a professional development tool that essentially allows the professional development team to push content and messaging to their attorneys.
Okay.
So we use it specifically with primarily first year associates. So it's a way for us to push content on things like practice management, wellness, communication, things that a lot of first year associates need in order to really ramp up in their first year practice. So we have that as our primary tool right now, but the coaching piece that I mentioned before is an expansion on that. And we'll be facilitating it through the app and also on our desktop platform too.
Okay, great. So, part of this is also naturally the founder journey here. So I've heard a couple of things out of from you today that are of interest. That you went into practicing fitness law, or created fitness law to practice that, which reminds me very much of Always Sunny in Philadelphia bird law references.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm from Pennsylvania too, so there's probably some connection there. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But so fitness law, and then into this professional development and training and wellness. You have a proclivity for wellness and fitness and well-being of people. Is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, wellness for me. Well, so I practice in big law, and so I was exposed to what it takes in order for you to really show up at your best each day in an environment like that. It's a challenge. And so for me, I'd always been interested in health and wellness, and my understanding of health and wellness at that point was physical health and wellness, right? So I was drawn towards that. And then I would say in 2017, 2018, when this idea started to percolate for me, I actually started to have coaching myself. So the woman who I've worked with for more than almost, I guess, 3 years now, Her name's Jonna Golden Flame. She has been my coach and mentor, and someone who I meet with. I literally meet with her every week. So I started to receive coaching myself, and it truly unlocked this understanding for me of how we can help people through coaching, right? So if you think about it, there's all sorts of stuff that gets in our way each and every day, right? Things that we believe, things we believe about ourselves,
right? Limiting beliefs and
limiting beliefs, old stories that we tell ourselves about, how good we are, what we're capable of, models in our mind of how things should work or how we should show up or what we're supposed to do. And a lot of that stuff comes between us and our ability to really show up, each day in a place where we're able to show up at our best, right? And so the act of like really working with someone to talk through those things and to address them helps people to form different and better habits, routines, ways of thinking about themselves, like investing in themselves, right? Wellness things, just sort of reshaping how you think about yourself in your workday.
More of an investment mindset in yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for lawyers, it's like, it is absolutely essential and critical that we do this and promote this. I mean, all of the statistics around, burnout and, substance abuse, right. And I think we're probably the only profession where it's mandatory for us to go through substance abuse training just because it's just so rampant. So for lawyers especially, we have to have some sort of a call to action around addressing some of those wellness issues. So for me, I really started through my own journey, started to see this as a solution to some of the major problems that we're having. And really what it is, Nick, is it's a work on yourself first approach, right?
Right.
The best thing that I can do for everybody around me is work on myself, because if I work on myself, then I'm able to show up and I'm able to help an exponentially larger group of people in a better way, my clients, my colleagues, my family, because I have received things that help me to work through the things I have to. So part of what we're doing too, it is the coaching, that sort of that traditional coaching part, but also practical skill building too, right? So some of the traditional skills that are challenging to maybe teach in a large group setting, helping with public speaking or leadership, right? Or building a book of business, practice management, email management, a lot of those things. There's coaches out there who can help people with that. Yeah.
And that way you don't get to the second chair for your first time and seize up or get sick or something like that because you're freaked out about what you're going to have to do in that second chair position or in a huge presentation or something like that.
Absolutely. And the thing too about lawyers is you can like small hinges swing big doors when it comes to lawyers, right? If you can help a lawyer change the way they spend 30 minutes of their day, right? Like if I teach you something that allows you to delegate 30 minutes of non-billable work that you've been trudging through, that you figure out a way to offload it, 30 minutes a day times 5 days a week times 50 work weeks is, it's 80 hours a year. And for a lawyer who's billing $500 an hour, that's a massive shift.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah.
And let me ask you that on when you're pitching to these firms, because you're not pitching to the lawyers who need it or the staff who need it, because I'm assuming this is this something that is also available to other support staff in law firms, your service?
Yeah, we don't necessarily market it that way, but it is available. I've done a lot of staff training. Staff is another group that absolutely, needs this too. I mean, they're working at the same pace a lot of times that attorneys are.
Yeah, and we have these blinders on as though staff doesn't need the support as well, right? We're very, very lawyer focused industry.
Yes, absolutely. But staff, a lot of times they're the lifeblood of big firms. They just make them run, and so we don't market it necessarily to staff, but it is an option for staff. I have had firms ask me to coach. So I coach also. I don't know if I mentioned that, but
no, you didn't.
Yeah, so I'm a coach. Also, I've been coaching for 4 years, and so I coach staff also a lot of times on it's the same things that lawyers struggle with for the most part. So staff it's definitely open to staff too.
Okay, great. And when they're using your service, when you're selling this service, are you selling it as productivity in addition to professional development? Is that part of when you're telling a firm about this, you're talking to Rishway Law and you're saying, hey, we've got this, but if we can help somebody develop in this, managing their email or managing this non-billable stuff that they're having trouble with, that they're trudging through, that actually improves productivity and they're able to work on more billable work. Is that one of the pitches for a firm?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the pitches. What we're basically saying is, look, like there are some massive problems in the legal industry today. Wellness, retaining and promoting diverse talent, retention, preventing burnout, right?
Attrition rates are huge.
I think, man, what's the statistic? There's a whole bunch of statistics around this, around people just leaving in droves, right? Something like 75% of people say that they would have stayed longer at their organization if they had received a different type of training. I think enterprise companies spend something like 87 billion each year on professional development, but half of the people that receive that training are dissatisfied with it. And that, of course, results in massive turnover and under productivity. Workplace wellness
which is also a huge cost for the firm.
A huge
because
cost.
Now we got to hire and train somebody else, and that they're not productive during that time.
Every time someone walks out the door at a law firm, a lawyer walks out the door, it costs the firm 1.5 to 2 times their salary. So every time someone walks out the door, that's a massive loss for the firm.
Huge loss.
So yeah, if there's a way to, and again, I think it goes down to it being sort of a people-focused approach. And this is generally something that we as an industry just have not been that good at. I think part of it is, driven by the billable hour and some of the other models and the cultural things that are still lurking there that have been around for a long time that a
partnership model that's very centric on the individual producer, though, right? I mean, that's really a huge part of that, right? The huge independence for the rainmakers or those who are working under them in the practice groups. There's huge independence, but it's not really seen as a group community kind of experience.
Yeah, and if you think about how law firms are structured organizationally too, it's not, in a traditional org chart, you've got this person I report to this person reports to that person. What you have in law firms is you got like an associate who kind of works for a bunch of people usually. And so because there's no like person who's like really responsible for you, people can very easily get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
So that, and then also you factor in the fact that the traditional way of training was an apprenticeship model. And the apprenticeship part of this has just been squeezed out of the equation because people don't have, they don't have time to train. And it just kind of gets like fit in, right? I mean, every hour that you spend training someone is an hour that you're not billing.
Right.
And so that, just because of that sort of old lingering model, I think a lot of people get lost in the shuffle. There's not as much oversight and mentoring that could happen. And so one of the ways to address that, both from a cultural perspective, I mean, there's ways to change that internally, but also externally, having someone that can help you like learn how to do that, right? An external coach who can coach the partner, can coach the associate, right? So everybody is meeting at a place where they're better able to interact with one another and actually feel supported and coached.
Excellent. So can you tell us about experiences people have had with DueCourse app and feedback you're getting from the firms? And even if you're having individual feedback of it's been helpful for their practice, helpful for them personally or professionally.
Yeah. We have a lot of testimonials of people who have who have gone through coaching programs that we have offered. We, for a while, were almost exclusively focused on first year associates.
Okay.
And so with first year associates, it's so interesting because, they all come in sort of with a lot of the same general
Right.
challenges,
Right.
which is like, wait, I'm supposed to be doing what? Like it's very hard. It's hard for them to sort of orient themselves to what they're supposed to be doing. So they have issues around practice management, like, okay, well, I'm working, but what am I actually supposed to be doing all day? And how do I like literally, like once I sit down at my desk, like how do I map out, where I start and from when I start until I end, what am I supposed to be doing?
Right.
So it's just like this fundamental disconnect, because for a lot of them, it's the first time they've ever had any sort of a regular job.
Sure.
So we work a lot with practice management. We work a lot with communication, establishing habits and routines that are solid from the beginning. Again, one of the things we promote is like from the very beginning of your career, you have to the best of your ability, put some stakes in the ground and carve out some time for yourself, right? It's very easy to want to just stay up till 11 or 12 every night to impress people. But really what happens is you start to show up as a lesser version of yourself the more you do that, right? So the message is like, look, I know that there's a desire to do that, but you have to continue to promote and prioritize the practices that got you to this point, or else a few years from now, you're gonna be burnt toast. So we have a lot of people who come back and say, these very simple habits and simple routines that you taught us about how to manage and structure our workday, about how to prioritize wellness. We get a lot of people who come back and say that after practicing them for several weeks and months, they really help them to establish some boundaries and also manage their time better, like be very cognizant and intentional about how they're spending their day. So that's a couple of things that always come back when we get feedback from people who've been coached.
Excellent. So folks over on the Facebook page, and Karen, I see you're in here with us. If you have questions, our guest is Drew Amoroso. The company is DueCourse. You can find them at DueCourseApp.com. We've got about 15 minutes or so left here. Drew, where are you guys in your growth of the company right now?
Yeah.
Are you out searching for funding? Are you self-funded? How is that going?
Yeah. So for a while, it was just me. Right in the very beginning, I was doing this by myself. Really learned a lot building it initially by myself. In the last few years, I took on a co-founder who's our chief product officer. We actually have a woman who's joining us in about 45 days as our VP of sales. Her name is Kelly Dunaway. She was a director of professional development at Brian Cave for 10 or 15 years. Yeah, so she's joining us. We're really excited about that. And we have a CTO now too. So there's 4 of us.
Good.
And then we have some other, we have a whole army of contractors that we work with too. But we're at a point right now where we're raising a seed round.
Okay.
We have been able to self-fund to this point primarily, which has been great through the courses that we've run. So that's been fantastic, and it's actually allowed us to move very slowly and intentionally in terms of product development and really getting in there and seeing what it is that people, what is the the service and the product that will allow us to really amplify the impact of coaching, right? Like, what does that look like? What's the tool look like? So we've been very fortunate to be able to self-fund through courses that we have. But it's time. We're at an inflection point now, and we're doing pre-sales for our new product, which I said the soft launch is beginning of August, and we'll have a full product launch before the end of the year. So we're excited, and this is
very good.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I just, having done this for a long time and thinking about just seeing, like I said before, the number of people that we can really help through this, it's really exciting for us. And we have such a good group of people who come from backgrounds that are, similar. mentioned Kelly, she's been doing PD for a lot of years. And
Yeah.
my co-founder, Ali, he has built ed tech products and sold the products to law firms before too. So he's a legal tech product specialist. So we just have like a really good group of people who
Nice.
I am really proud of the work that we're doing.
That's great. And where what's the total addressable market for this kind of product for law firms? I mean, not that you only have to do law firms, it's the vertical you're focused on now, but what's the market like?
Yeah, it's a really big market. We're starting with legal. This is our sort of our bigger vision, right? I'm really focused on vertically specialized coaching. I think the TAM for it is probably somewhere around 90 or 100 billion. If you think about the opportunities that exist with vertically specialized coaching for law firms, for accounting firms, for marketing, financial services, right? There are all these very, very, very specialized industries where you have professionals who are highly trained, who are going to need coaches who understand what it's like to walk in their shoes day to day. So we think that the market is really big. And again, if you're thinking about how much companies are spending each year on professional development, they're really big numbers. They're really big numbers. It's actually like a very underserved part of the legal marketplace.
I believe that.
Yeah, professional development. Like again, because I think a lot of people, when they think legal tech, they're thinking automation, and they're not necessarily thinking about the people. But the truth is, I know you know this, people are still people that are going to be there, right? So it just seems like a place where there's a huge opportunity for legal tech to make a big impact, but that seemingly has kind of gone, for the most part, unnoticed at this point.
I would say so. I would say this is maybe the second wellness related interview I've done in 120 episodes, and certainly probably the only training related or professional development related that I can think of. So yeah, I'd say it's underappreciated for sure. In that vertical that you're focusing on. So kind of a two-part question here, because you're adding in this soft launch of the coaching. Are there some professional development aspects of DueCourse that are purely automation driven? Like, is it their reminders, continuous informational or educational pieces that are sent out or delivered to their inbox? Is there some that is fully technologically automated? And then in addition to that, we also offer this coaching.
Yeah, so for the initial product that we have offered as part of it's a complementary aspect of the training and the coaching that we have done, is a platform that has we did a lot of short videos. So training videos on all sorts of things, like 3 to 5 minute short bursts of learning. And there would be an automated delivery of those to basically take people through a coaching or a training process. And there definitely are companies inside of legal right now who are specializing in video training. Video training is great in a lot of ways because it does provide, you don't necessarily need a coach to answer sometimes these like very specific questions that you might have. And some people do prefer a self-guided self-study aspect, right? Where they're getting little pieces of information here and there. So there is part of our product that offers that, where you can essentially sign up for a course that we have that would allow you to receive a self-guided self-guided tour through a particular topic. But we also, again, that we have that, but from what we've observed, we want to automate the process around the connection point and the whole administration and management of the coaching relationship, like making that a seamless process for everybody who's involved. And we're generating data, generating analytics around it so that you can actually measure, qualitative and quantitative ROI on those types of relationships, so that, professional development.
But then the coaching aspect is really human to human at that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and coaching is like, it is one of those things where if you're going to coach someone, it's a process, right? And
Sure.
it's inquiry. It's like, Nick, tell me about this.
Right.
And
Right.
Nick, like, well, tell me about that and this and that. And so at some level that, there is so much room for automation of connecting people quickly, making it simple for people to find the right person to help them,
Right.
right? Because the trajectory of like, okay, I'm a person who needs help. I got to go to my PD person. They got to send out a blast email. Does anybody know anybody who can help with this? And then like the responses trickle in. So bending that arc, I think
Yeah.
this technology will really help with that. And there's other things too that just would facilitate that technology would facilitate in terms of sharpening that edge. So yeah, that's what we're focused on with our platform.
Excellent. And for the ROI for the firm who purchases your service, what kind of data is available to them from coaching? Like, it's not just, well, Nick says that he's feeling really good about everything that he's doing. There, you said there is qualitative and quantitative data. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so a lot of coaching is a lot of it is qualitative, right? Because you're
Right.
dealing with issues around interacting with people,
Sure.
how they interact with clients, how they interact with one another, how they're feeling and performing each day. So it can be difficult sometimes to extract, to say, okay, this particular thing led to this. However, there are ways to measure who gets coached, how long they stay at the firm, their performance, like performance ratings, following coaching.
Gotcha.
And like there are NPS type scores too. So self-reporting, where they
Right.
can say, you know what, this is where I was, but now as I sit here today, here's where I am on a scale of 1 to 10 on different aspects. So some of it is self-reporting, some of it is performance as measured by reviews that happen,
Right.
and also retention too. If people are sticking around longer, populations who have been receiving coaching who stick around longer, that's measurable.
That's measurable.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. Well, it seems like everybody's being quiet. Karen, you're being rather quiet tonight. So I've asked all the questions, but we're about 40 minutes in, Drew, and I want to ask you, what haven't we covered that you would like for people to know about DueCourse?
Oh man, I think I would encourage. I would say that one of the things that we're really focused on again is using technology to help people. And so whether that's how people who are learning new technologies can be supported, right?
Mhm.
Like, how are we training people to learn how to use legal
Right.
tech, right? That's a big part of the equation too. I think I'd like to just shine a light on the people part of legal tech, right? So regardless of how streamlined and how automated we make things, there are still people sitting and standing, as I am now, behind a desk, who are using those tools, who are interacting with clients, who are bringing in business to the firm, who are solving really complex problems for their clients, right? Those are people. And so I hope, and we hope as a company, as part of what we're doing, that we don't lose sight of that fact, right? And if we're going to address wellness, if we're going to address a lot of these major issues in the industry, it starts with focusing on people. So I really have enjoyed seeing a lot of these types of discussions enter the legal tech atmosphere, because I think people are just a huge part of the not only adoption but the successful use of legal tech too.
Yeah, definitely. And so what's been one of your biggest obstacles? We'll wrap up with these and then I'll ask you to tell people where to find you. But what's been one of your biggest obstacles and one of your biggest successes in your startup journey?
Oh man, big obstacles. For me, this is a personal one. So making the transition from practicing lawyer to entrepreneur was by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because this lawyers, we're professionally trained risk spotters, right?
Right.
That's what we walk around all day long and we tell other people, I'm overgeneralizing, but we tell other people like what not to do because it could lead to this. We're
Right.
just paid to like to think about all the reasons why something couldn't go the way we want it to. So as
Right.
someone has lawyer brain and lawyer brain is great for advising clients, by the way, but when it comes to entrepreneurship, not a great model to use for starting your own.
Going from risk averse to
Right.
I got to take on a whole lot of risk.
Totally. And just understanding what it means to take, for something to be risky. I actually think, my opinion is, one of the reasons why legal tech adoption and why legal tech has moved so slowly to this point is because I think there's a lot of lawyers who have great ideas for how to change the profession, but because it's overlaid with this risk, not as many people go and do it,
Right.
That's one of my theories, but so making that transition was tough. I had a lot of people in my community who supported me, but I went through a low point, a really low point where I knew this is something I wanted to do, but there were days when I just could not get out of bed. I was battling with myself. Like, I don't think, same things that we were talking about before. I don't think I can do it. I'm not good enough. This isn't a good idea. So shifting from lawyer brain to entrepreneur brain was both my biggest challenge and probably my biggest success, right? Getting past that and turning on a different part of my brain that allowed me to look at risk differently, to focus on, the upside of helping people, and also realizing that, with a lot of this, it's like, you just keep going. You got a good idea, keep going, come across a challenge, figure it out. The founders, I think, who really make it through are the ones who approach that with a sense of joy about what it is they do, and also are okay with kind of absorbing and using the blows of a founder, founder story. Just kind of be like, sort of letting that, okay, well, this is something another thing I have to figure out. No problem. Here we go. Let's figure it out. So
That's
I think
great.
it's probably my biggest challenge and biggest success too.
That's great. Yeah, because a founder has to go from, or lawyer founder, I should say, which not everybody is a lawyer founder, but in legal tech, but there are a lot of them. But the lawyer founder goes from that risk averse thinking to, I have to take on a whole bunch of risk. But then early stages, which I'm sure you've also experienced, I also now have to be sales and administration and the face of the company, and I have to, and I'm still producing, right? I'm not
right.
It's not that I just go into a management role and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, all the things I never learned anything about in law school.
Right.
Like marketing, sales, products, all those things. Yeah, I made a ton of mistakes early on, right? Just because you kind of have to.
Yeah.
And that's part of the process. But again, like, if you approach it from the perspective of, well, this is my job, is to absorb those things, right? And like it's my job to figure them out. If I want this thing to come to fruition, then this is my job.
Right. Almost, I asked for this. I asked to do this when I made the decision.
I asked for it, and
I get to do it.
And I get to do it. Exactly. Right. Like, I get the privilege to try to bring something new and different into the world, which is absolutely, I feel like that is a complete, total privilege. So anytime I'm feeling sorry for myself, I flip it back and I'm like, hey, like, this is what you wanted. You're doing something new and different. I don't necessarily know, I have an idea in my mind of what the final thing will look like, but I'm open to the possibility that it will shift. It's just like this whole thing you kind of have to take yourself through, or at least I have. But I love it. I wouldn't exchange it for anything. I absolutely love it.
That's great. So we've hit about 45 minutes. I don't want to keep you all night.
Cool.
But thanks, Karen, for joining us. We've got Meg down here, or chiming in late. Is there a demo video running through the platform and how it works? Really interested in seeing a quick overview of the platform. Is there a demo video anywhere?
We don't have a demo. We will have a demo video up in a couple of weeks when we do have our soft launch on August 1st. So if she'd like to reach out to me, and maybe it's a good time to say where you can find me, Drew at DueCourseApp.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Drew Amoroso, Amoroso. Either of those places, would love to connect with people. But if anyone wants to ping me and is interested in seeing a demo once we do our soft launch, would be more than happy to provide that.
Excellent. That's great. So that's Drew Amoroso, Amoroso. Did I get that? Did I? Yeah. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
I did that faster than I expected.
You've been practicing your Italian.
Yeah, I have. And it's Drew at DueCourse app.com. So make sure to get that in. Thanks, Meg and Drew. Thank you so much. We'll be back in 2 weeks, folks. We're taking next week off. We'll be back in 2 weeks with with Andy Wilson of Logical. We'll be doing an e-discovery discussion. Logical is a cloud-based e-discovery. So join us for episode 121 in 2 weeks out. Drew, thank you again for being here. And don't disappear when we stop recording. Have a good night.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Nick.
Thank you.